Hey guys, what's up? So I've seen a lot of articles to do with Article 13 and its potential problems that are going to happen with YouTube. So I thought I'd do a quick explanation of what Article 13 is. Now, if we take a look at it, it's a directive sent by the EU, one of the European Union organisations, which is dealing with specific copyright. So this is to do with people who own music, songs, lyrics, animation, anything to do with that, and its illegal use by various other sites or people who use without authorization, so not getting the relevant copyright or getting the paid royalties for it. This is now becoming a bit of a problem because we're having this Article 13 gives the users the right to take down videos. However, the UK isn't planning to take this into its legislation. This will potentially cause future problems for YouTube itself, and have considered. Well, the CEO has decided. She's come out with a statement saying she's looking at potentially getting rid of UK access. Because they would rather do that than to suffer further fines. Again, this is because the UK is leaving the EU as of the 31st of January at 11 p.m. So this is how it is looking at the moment. Google has been particularly vocal about the proposed law, which it says could change the web as we know it. Article 13 of the EU Copyright Directive states services such as YouTube could be held responsible if their users upload copyright-protected movies and music. In a few weeks, MEPs will vote to decide whether it becomes law. This article has been as of February 2019. It's a little bit old, but it's still very relevant to the topic. The EU last introduced new copyright laws in 2001. That is quite a shock considering how far the internet, social media, and every other platform has developed, and you would think they would have updated a lot sooner. The EU says it wants to make copyright rules fit for the digital era, but not everyone agrees with the proposed changes. If the UK leaves the EU with a deal and the directive becomes law, it would apply to the UK during any transition period. So for those who aren't aware, the transition period is the time between us saying we're leaving the EU and actually when we've made decisions about our various trade arrangements and anything else that includes prisons, that includes defence, how we interact with the EU, our science, technology, how we access and delivery systems through the EU. All of that comes under these kind of transitional periods, including migration of EU migrants as well. Article 13 is part of the new EU Copyright Directive that covers how online content sharing services should deal with copyright-protected content such as television programs and movies. It refers to services that primarily exist to give the public access to protected works or other protected subject matter uploaded by its users, so it's likely to cover YouTube, Dailymotion, and SoundCloud. However, there is also a long list of exemptions, including non-profit online encyclopedias. So you'll have a few of those. Open source software development platforms, but then they'll have their own kind of arrangements, and people will pay through those platforms. Cloud storage services, online marketplaces, and communication services. Article 13 says content sharing services must license copyright-protected material from the rights holders. If that is not possible and material is posted on the service, the company may be held liable unless it can demonstrate: first, it made best efforts to get permission from the copyright holder; two, it made best efforts to ensure that material specified by rights holders was not made available; and third, if acted quickly to remove any infringing material of which it was made aware. This is usually what YouTube does. It will either demonetize your videos, so you don't, you're not illegally taking profit, or they will just give the money to the relevant copyright holders, or they will just outright give you a copyright strike and get rid of that video for you. It's all dependent on what the copyright holder wants. These rules apply to services that have been made available in the EU for more than 3 years or have an annual turnover of more than £8.8 million, 10 million euros, or $11.2 million. Article 13 says it shall in no way affect legitimate uses, and people will be allowed to use bits of copyrighted protected material for the purpose of criticism, review, parody, and pastiche. So basically that's if you wanted to make reviews on various types of, for example, anime, you could use little screenshots if you want to describe a certain point, or even for like educational purposes. That's the reason for it. Critics say it would be impossible to preemptively license material in case users upload it. That's true, unless they had. Even YouTube systems don't always pick up everything. I have uploaded things in the past which have been copyrighted, and usually if it's a very short clip, it doesn't get dealt with. If it's a longer clip, they instantly get rid of it, or within usually about a week. German MEP Julia Redder suggested services would have to buy licenses for anything that users may possibly upload, and called it an impossible feat. Article 13 does not force companies to filter what users are uploading, although critics say companies will be left with no choice. Again, how many minutes of videos are uploaded to YouTube each and every minute of the day? If you were to total up everything that became copyrighted, it would no longer be financially viable for YouTube to keep going, and this is why they're going through that direction. YouTube already has its Content ID system, which can detect copyright-protected music and videos and block them. But critics say developing and implementing this type of filter would be too expensive for small companies or startups. Others have warned that algorithms often make mistakes and might take down legitimately used content. Filters with subject any all communications of every European to interception and arbitrary censorship if a black box algorithm decides their text, pictures, sounds, or videos are a match for a known copyrighted work, said a blog by online rights group EFF. Article 13 does say services must put in place a complaint and redress mechanism so that their users can quickly resolve disputes if their content is blocked by mistake. Many in the entertainment industry support Article 13, as it will hold websites accountable if they fail to license material or take it down. So what was YouTube campaigning for? Before the final text of the directive was agreed, there were 3 versions, one by the European Parliament, one by the Council of the EU, and one by the European Commission, who will work together to produce the final version of the text. YouTube had warned that European Parliament's original draft was its worst-case scenario. It dramatically claimed it would have to block existing videos and new uploads from creators in the EU. Don't worry, this isn't actually going to happen. It's more likely the case that since the UK is going on its own, this is probably going to affect us more than it is the remaining EU 27, and encouraged prominent vloggers to make videos about Article 13. It warned its Content ID system only worked if rights holders engaged with it, so this in itself is a risk. If you have inactive rights holders and they don't notice it for a while, the question is how long will it be, and how far back would they be able to sue the company? Certain things can only be in retrospect for up to, say, something like 5 years. That's sometimes the case with like financial data. However, with this, there isn't really a specified time limit. Could be from the very beginning, from the start date of your upload. They can find that data, which they can. That will probably give you a range of how far they can sue, and obviously depending on the audience as well, and provided clarity about what material belonged to them. It said it would be too risky to let anybody in the EU upload anything at all. The final version of Article 13 says services must make best efforts to remove copyright-protected videos in cases where the right holders have provided the relevant and necessary information. This is actually quite good for YouTube because with their systems, they have both a right of response and they follow the guidance of the copyright owners themselves. In a statement, Google said, "We'll be studying the final text of the EU Copyright Directive. It will take some time to determine next steps. Details will matter, so we welcome the chance to continue conversations across Europe." So, will Article 13 affect video game streamers? Video gamers who share their gameplay on video streaming services such as Twitch and YouTube highlight the complexity of copyright online. Multiple copyrights can exist in a single product, explained lawyer Kathy Berry from Linklaters. Video game studios own various copyrights in their games, the underlying code, the graphics, music, and dialogue. You can see this actually in examples such as, for example, tattoos. Sometimes it's not the actual person with the tattoo who has the copyright, but the tattoo artist himself. Therefore, unpiecing all the various copyright owners is quite difficult. When a gamer creates a video game video for YouTube, the video itself is a new copyright work owned by the gamer. However, as it also incorporates copyright works owned by the video game studios, the authorization of both the gamer and the studio would be required to put it online. This will create quite a few difficulties because lots of game businesses are very protective of their software and their intellectual property. Even though you are playing the game as yourself, you own only the game. You don't actually own the rights to stream these various services, and they're actually able to take these things down. A quick example of that is I tried to upload a Nintendo Mario Kart. One of the Mario Karts, I think it was Mario Kart 7, but they copyrighted it on the grounds of the music that's used. Currently, most video game publishers let gamers share videos of their gameplay online. Again, Nintendo has been more restrictive, but have recently relaxed its rules. In theory, if Article 13 became law, game studios could tell Twitch and YouTube not to show videos of its games. Studios tend not to enforce their rights against YouTube gamers in order to avoid the PR implications of being heavy-handed with fans, and because the videos can have significant promotional value, said Ms. Berry. Gamers may be able to argue that their videos are exempt from Article 13 because they've added their own commentary, criticism, or review, but Ms. Berry warned these defences have been largely untested in the courts in this context. So what she's saying there is, because they haven't seen that many cases, there's no precedent for it. Until these cases start appearing, there's not much that can be done. So what's to happen next? Ms. Berry said Article 13 still contains some broad and ambiguous terms, such as requirements for services to demonstrate high industry standards of professional diligence. She said it would be likely to result in an ongoing lack of legal and commercial certainty until legal cases set a precedent and flesh out the directive. The proposed law will face a final vote in the European Parliament in the next few weeks. If it passes, it will be implemented by national governments over the next 2 years. So, what do you think of Article 13? Is this something you're concerned about as a YouTuber yourself? Do you make money through YouTube, or is this just an entertainment platform and you'll be a bit disappointed to see it go? Like I said, if this becomes an issue within the UK and they do decide to ban the UK from both uploading and for watching, this could have negative effects on the world. Even if your audience is barely made up of UK citizens, it still will affect ad revenue, and essentially you're getting rid of 60 odd million viewers from potential viewing figures. This will have an impact on all YouTubers, no matter how far they are away. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think of Article 13. How worried are you? Are you a UK citizen yourself? And do you think this is going to affect us negatively or is this something that the industry just has to accept?